All right, we'll go ahead and get started for now. Yeah, I was going to share my screen, but I'll check that in a minute. But good evening, you guys, and thank you guys so much for joining us on this recorded presentation. Greater Nevada has been finding a growing need for financial education from our community members, and that is why each month we've been showcasing a financial topic that we hope will help you on your financial well-being journey. After these types of webinars, you can expect to receive information, including some free resources and materials to help continue your financial wellness journey. You can also view this webinar and other webinars that we've recorded in the past on our GNC YouTube channel, which I'll be sending you later. During this presentation, just some housekeeping items. We will offer some question and answer breaks if you have them. Please always feel free to type them through the chat. But during these question and answer breaks, we do welcome you off of mute if you feel so brave. But for now, please go ahead and just place the cameras in an off status and then place your mics on mute if you haven't done so already. If you want more of an anonymous alternative to send your questions in, absolutely okay. You can email us at gncufinancialacceleration@gncu.net. We'll go ahead and pop that in the chat. And actually, speaking of the chat, my counterpart, Michelle Hale, my community impact manager here at Greater Nevada Credit Union, will be helping me kind of control my question and answer breaks, and, feeling free to interrupt me if there are questions that come up, okay? So please feel free. Let's go ahead and get started. A little bit about myself. My name is Saray Helms. I am our financial education specialist here at Greater Nevada Credit Union, and I am so happy to be your presenter for today's presentation on building a spending plan. It is one of my most passionate topics. I would say top 3. A little bit about myself and I guess my GNCU journey. I am a native Nevadan. I'm born and raised. I live here in that Reno Sparks, Reno Tahoe area. I love our outdoors, and if I'm not doing that, I love being inside I have a cat and a dog. I started my GNCU journey in 2015 and just grew a passion for financial education, and here we are. So thank you guys for being here. And I'm going to go ahead and dive into building a spending plan. Bear with me. I'm going to go ahead and share my PowerPoint if I can. It says loading, of course. All right. Hopefully it should start to pop up. All right, can I get a thumbs up, maybe a reaction if that is popping up for you? Okay, thank you so much. That is looking good. Today, as we start to talk about spending plans, just a little bit of what we're going over is I love to dive into the spending cycles, kind of why we're spending, how we spend, that mentality behind spending, before we dive into spending plans or budgets. I like to use the word spending plan. We'll get into that rather than budget, but I may simultaneously switch them. And we're going to visualize living our best life when it comes to budgeting, and we'll talk about that more. This is a step-by-step guide to hopefully walk you through on how to build a spending plan. Whether this is starting from the beginning, whether you're doing it as an individual, a family, or even your business, okay? We're going to go over a couple methods of how to build a spending plan. I think I will share a personal story. I know when I was young, I didn't know what a budget was. I didn't know how. And they said, well, it's, just budget your money. Well, what does that mean? How do I do it? What tactile tools can I use? So I hope that we'll be sending you home with a few things to use today. Please just expect an email from me. And then overall goals and tips for budgeting, and just goal setting overall, okay? As you're learning with me today, I continuously learn with you. If you have a moment and are so able to, as you're watching this webinar, the QR code on the screen is a financial wellness learning survey. In other words, tell me what more you would like to learn of, get feedback. I'm always looking to get a little greater, so to say, at these. Some great examples of feedback were somebody asked, can you give more examples? Loved that. Or some feedback of, make a walk. Can you give me a step-by-step guide and walkthrough guide? So actually we've taken that, and all of 2024's webinars are based on the information that you have told us that you want more of. So we do try to take an account. So thank you so much for a few moments of those time if you're able to. Okay, now to dive in, one of my favorite subjects, spending cycles. Like I said, why do we spend the way we do? So looking at the top of your screen, I'm going to kind of work on this chart starting in the top left corner with that circle figure. Okay, and it says earn, spend, earned, spend. This is a spending cycle we often or may have found ourselves in. Maybe you haven't, totally okay. This is typically a paycheck to paycheck cycle is how we explain it, right? Earn, spend, earn, spend. I want to pause here actually before moving on. Of my biggest advice to you is for spending plans, taking a step back and just giving yourself a little bit of grace, recognizing where you are and being motivated and open to practice. You know, it's okay to make mistakes, but hopefully this will be a guide to give you tools to know how to practice and be better. Okay, so if you're in this earn, spend cycle, that's okay. We've been there. We're going to talk about where we want to be and how to get there. Okay. So I just want to pause with that and give yourself a little bit of grace. Okay. So next up, I'm going to move over to the right. It's that earn, spend, borrow, spend. Okay. And this, let me give a few examples. Maybe it's not borrowing it as in, getting a loan to cover costs. Maybe it's putting things on your credit card. This also, you know, borrowing physical money from a friend or family member or trusted one. This could mean I'm taking from my savings account. I'm borrowing from my savings account. Okay. Sometimes this is the I deserve it attitude. And we have gotten excited and we have just got a little bit too much than our plan accounted for that month. Again, we can practice to be better the next time. Okay. Moving down to that bottom left, the earn, spend, save. Okay, that sounds good. I often find myself in this cycle thinking I was doing so good, right, for a long time. I'm earning, I'm paying my bills, and I'm saving a little bit. That is great, but what the challenge with this is you're putting savings low on the priority list. And I advise to not put savings low on the priority list because life happens. We have to save for things. We have tires pop and things like that. And that's not just what savings is. And we'll talk about that. You know, really, we can get not only things that we need, like a car repair, but things that we want. So put savings high on your priority list. So that puts us in that little bottom right corner where we hope to be. Okay, and we can practice to be better and get there, is that earn, save first, then spend. Okay, maybe this is confusing. Let me talk about this. This is a pay yourself first attitude. Okay. And by this pay yourself first attitude, I'm not necessarily mean impulse buy without a plan. Okay. We're going to talk a lot about intentional spending. And this pay yourself first attitude is, like I said, savings should be high on your priority list. We work very hard for our money. Okay. And we deserve to see good things from that. And I will be an advocate for you. 100% of the way that, we should enjoy life. But the way that I recommend doing for that is to plan for it. I love vacations. I love, certain types of things. And so I have a vacation savings account. And you bet that one of the first things I do is I treat my savings as a bill, and I put X amount of whatever deemed affordable dollar in there. I like to break this down by paycheck. We'll get into detail later. Because I worked so hard the last 2 weeks, I am absolutely going to put towards my Disneyland fund. Okay, so that's what I mean. This is intentional, paying yourself first. Congratulate yourself. We will talk about it is a-okay to budget in some treat yourself items. Again, this is intentional. We should know how much freely we have to spend each month, okay? So remember, earn, save, spend, try to pay yourself first attitude. I know we are switching cycles, and so this takes some time to practice and get a hang of. So again, give yourself some flexibility there. Okay, remember when I said we're going to talk about and visualize living our best life. And this is what I mean by that. On the screen, this triangle is called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this is deemed what is basic human needs, psychological needs, and to get to full self-fulfillment needs as a human. I also like to look at this as budgeting based on our wants and needs. Okay, so I actually like to start at that very top of the triangle, okay? And this is your best life. Take a moment and visualize what that means to you, okay? Like I said, life is short. We work very hard and we deserve to get that, and I really hope we all do. So how do we visualize that on wants and needs regards to budgeting? So let's take a look at the bottom of the triangle. Okay, to live our best life, I always like to joke around with my high school kids of, well, you gotta eat to live your best life, my friend, okay? So yeah, at the very bottom is our food. You gotta take care of yourself. And then we're getting into our safety needs, which is our transportation and housing. I always argue that transportation to me is a basic need because I use it to get to work, which gets me my paycheck, which gets me everywhere else on this triangle that I want to go, okay? So I argue transportation as a basic need. Some may put it in this next belongingness and love need, and that is a-okay. Another big tip I have with spending plans is any of this today, flex for yourself, for your family, for your business. Okay, this is practice and getting to what works for you. Okay, and it's just taking a step back, looking, how did I do going forward? So if you need to switch that transportation up, that's okay. So next we're getting into the belongingness and love and needs and our hobbies and our wants. If I have my psychological, my food, my housing, my transportation well taken care of, aka my bills are paid, I can start adding in some hobbies and wants, right? Maybe I have a little extra money after I'm done, savings first and then spending and paying all my bills. I can start allocating, do I go to the movies? Or maybe a free option, right? But once those are taken care of, we can start moving on to some other needs. And at the very best top of ourself, we're visualizing future best self still. We are doing well, but what else do we want to do? It's not all about what we need to do. And that self-actualization, what do we want to do? Okay, and money, I think, empowers us to do a lot of that. Now, on the subject of money and empowerment, I like to pause here and just remind you that status, okay, so you're the CEO, your money that you have, the physical money in your bank account, okay, your assets, whatever you want to call it, your possessions, do not necessarily equal success or financial well-being. When I ask you to live, what is your best life and what is wealthy to you, I share with people that for a long time, my best life was being able to slide my debit card at the grocery store and not worrying if I had enough money or not. Going in the grocery store and getting to choose things that I wanted as well. Maybe I'm not shopping by the name brand and getting the off brand sometimes, and I can worry about that additional cost on a name brand thing. That getting groceries without worrying about it was success to me for a very long time, and that's okay. So again, individualize, personalize what success is. All right. This puts us on our first question break. This is what they kind of look like. Michelle, I will welcome you on. Are there any questions, whether in the chat or we welcome you off of mute at these times if you are so brave?
It doesn't look at there's any at this time.
Okay, sounds good. I will thank you for your patience. We are going to move through kind of at a fast pace from this point, but I do want to give you all the information we can. Okay, when we talk about what is a budget, and what are our needs and wants, and what are some methods, I want to break that down for you. A long time, my question was, okay, but what is the normal amount to be spending? So let's talk about that. This is one way to kind of calculate your expenses, and this is called the 50-30-20 rule. And this states that 50% should go towards your needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% towards your savings and or debt. Okay, and just a list at the bottom of what some wants and needs are. If that simplicity works for you, great. Okay, I am somebody that needed a little bit more for me to be truly more successful or get better practice, I should say, was breaking it down into further detail using this category style method. And I think this is a good representation of what is normal to spend. And we're going to look at the kind of recommendations versus today's cost. I don't want to ignore that we are facing high costs in today. Okay, so do you ever wonder how much you should be spending? The housing, this 35% housing here, what that is based off of, I want to pause, is that as a lender, whether you were looking to buy or you were looking to rent, they could not put you in that home or house or apartment, right? Whatever it may be, if it was more than 35% of your monthly income. Okay, so that's where that is. They recommend it. Transportation, yada, yada, yada. All right, we can take a look at that. I want to take a look at today's cost. And new wheel we have here, but the housing is at 49 to 50%. Let's talk about this. So this is what on average we kind of see. This 50%, I also like to, this is kind of a warning. A few years ago, that 35% to get you into a home raised to nearly 50%, meaning that lender, whether you're looking to rent or buy, can put you in that home if that mortgage or rent is up to 50% of your monthly income. 50% of your check is going towards housing. Now, many people said, yay, I can finally get approved for a home, but I want to take a look at what this really looks like. With that 50% housing, most people with the high transportation costs, are at 25%. This I'm calculating in your payment, your insurance, your gas cost, etc. Okay, this is pushing food down to 10%. That is, to me, not enough for an individual, not enough for a family. Look at these numbers here, all very low. To me, they're unrealistic. This is just a hypothetical wheel if you were to push your housing to 50% and your transportation to 25%. We're going to talk about my big recommendation is that no, you do stick within that 35%. and that 15% transportation. And what that looks like is getting a roommate, maybe 2 roommates, maybe you're looking at a different type of housing or a smaller type of housing. Maybe you're looking at a different type, right? Many different types of factors. An example I would love to use is I often work with high school students, and this high school student's goal was to get a Acura Integra. I still specifically remember. And he worked well, a well-paid job for his age, absolutely. And he was living either at home with it or with roommates. I couldn't remember, but his housing was very affordable to where his transportation could be pushed more towards this 25% because this housing was very low and he was able to, have a lot of flexibility. So this is just an example to make this wheel your own. But again, my recommendation is to stick with that low housing and that lower transportation. All right. So truly, what is a spending plan or a budget? It's just a plan to show you where your funds are going. And some highlighted terminology that I want to pause on, or some points that I want to pause on before we really start diving into the steps here, okay? Income. When I talk about building and getting documentation for your income, here is a great highlight. Do not forget these types of things as income. Gifts, gift cards. Okay, I just looked through my wallet and I had a stack of gift cards I'm not using, and I said that is free money. Okay, those are still income. So be really, really creative when you start to gather these things. So looking at these expenses, I will use some terminology later on that I want to cover now. As you gather your expenses, you're going to find that you're going to have fixed expenses, which are things that do not change the month. Rent is a fixed expense. I am lucky enough to where my cell phone bill is a fixed expense. It doesn't change. I know it is X amount of dollars on the dot each month. Then these ones are a little bit more tricky for me. These are flexible expenses. These are expenses that change every month. And some examples of these are gas. My food bill changes every month. My heating bill changes every month. My electricity bill, so really making sure we're getting an average or a true cost. A lot of times these can be seasonal, summer versus winter. Okay. And then you'll just have your discretionary and luxury. All right. Okay. Somebody did ask a question. How do I even start? Ooh, I love that question. Thank you for asking. Let's go to my question thing. We're going to start diving into this. I hope that's exactly the question I had. How do I start? Where do I go? What do I use? The biggest advice I can give to you is I will walk you through a step, and I will actually be giving you some pause time if you want to take this and walk away and, you're building this later, as well as some tools. The other advice, remain flexible and give yourself grace. Next piece of advice is do what works for you. Part of that flexibility is saying, this is not working for me. But don't give up on yourself, right? Because we deserve that top of the triangle in our best life. So just try something new. Let's see, next question. Will we get a copy of this PowerPoint? I am happy to share this. I can share this as a PDF, and I will actually have a photo of this creating a spending plan step for you attached in the resources email. So you can take this one photo and sit down and do these steps. Great question. This webinar is also recorded, and I hope to have this posted. Thank you for your patience, but at a little bit of a later time on our website and our GNCU YouTube channel, so you can walk along. But great question. I'm happy to send that PDF out. I would just say with that, this is certified. I update these continuously. Okay, so this may be accurate at this point in time, which is January of 2024, but the same presentation that I present in 2 months may have updates to it. So with that PDF, right, fair warning of it is only up to date as of this point. but happy to use. Let me pause here. So we're going to prep some materials. This is actually true creating a spending plan from start to finish. Okay. This looks like a lot of steps. It's a total of 6, but we're going to break this down into 3 and 3. And this actually right here is a great pause. And we're going to talk about that. But we're going to start talking about prepping materials. We're going to then look at our cash flow, our ins, our outs. Are we positive? Are we negative? Right? What is in versus out? That is all really we're looking at, okay? We're going to reflect and talk about where I would like to be better and what am I good at? Because I want to continue those good practices as well, okay? So make sure you're pausing and looking at those because you want to keep doing those. And then we're going to actually plug our numbers in. You can absolutely, like I said, pause before this. Reflecting on goals is a great time to pause before you go into number crunching, okay? This is finding, is it that Excel that works for you? Is it an app that works for you? Is it writing it on paper that works for you? We're going to practice and maintain. We're going to make a commitment to ourselves that we're going to practice and maintain. And we're going to set some times and goals to reflect and adjust later. Okay, so it doesn't seem that daunting. It is 6 steps, but like I said, we're going to walk through it together. Okay, so first step, like I said, we're going to walk through this 3. Okay, this little guy icon with the star will help us figure out which step we are along the way. So as you are prepping your materials, what that means to me is a general recommendation, okay, on the screen. You're collecting most 3 recent pay stubs. Think of your creditors and debtors that you have. So statements for bills like your utilities, your insurance, your credit card bills and statements, your loans or other debts, any outstanding bills. Okay, those are going to be at the high top of your priority as anything outstanding. And then maybe checking and savings account statements. Those actually tell you whether your cash flow into that particular account, I should specify, is positive or negative. That could be a great just overall look at you, whether you have money going in or, how much money I should say in or out. High priority letters if you have them. If you're facing judgments, garnishments, disclosures, etc., right, those are going to be your top priority. And if you feel so inclined, I think it's a great habit to get in at least once a year, is pulling your credit report. We'll give you information on where to pull that from, where you can get it for free. But this will give you information on who even is your debtors, has anybody claimed collections on you, and who, and that will be that information if you're looking for it. Okay. Credit report is also great to pull just to look for, is anything on there that you don't recognize? Okay. Is your credit being ran anywhere that you don't recognize? Take a look at that. That could be a great prevention policy. So now we're on step 2. Not too bad. Okay, you can pause after you go get all your documents. Maybe you have those numbers at the top of your head, but if you don't, right, like I said, these are just some recommended materials. Okay, step 2, we're going to analyze and explore. We're going to look at our cash flow. First, we're going through, after all we've listed, we're going to list what are our outs. And those are our fixed outs and our flexible outs. Okay, like we talked about earlier. What are our ins? What's coming in? What's my income? Fixed or flexible income. Maybe you get a fixed paycheck every single month, or a general hourly or salary pay. Maybe a flexible income, and you get forms of income elsewhere, such as that list I showed on a screen a few slides back, talking about gift cards, alimony, things like that. Okay, we're going to sum all of our expenses and get a total. We're going to sum all of our income and get a total. And is our overall cash flow positive or negative? Okay. I want to pause here. I put narrow in and name behaviors. As you're looking through your statements, are you finding other challenges that, or stressors for you, I should say, alternatives of where you may find that you need extra help, and that is absolutely okay. But I like to name them. Okay, and some examples of these would be, is you or your family, as you're looking through this, right? Maybe you're doing helping somebody else with them. Is there gambling? Is there impulsive shopping? Is there addiction that we're facing? Those are some things that please absolutely feel free. You could seek additional help on when it comes to budgeting or just behaviors themselves that can really help the spending plan process. Start brainstorming goals. Like I said, this is our great moment to go, huh, how did I do? What immediately when I ask people, I giggle a little bit because they go, oh, I know so many things I could be better at. And that's okay. That's great. We're going to practice those, but also recognize, what are you doing well at? I have transferred into my savings account consistently for 3 months in a row. Even if you transferred out, I still tried. Okay. I paid additional on my credit card, right? These are good positive behaviors that we want to recognize. So we're not focusing all on the negative because we want to continue those positive behaviors. All right, step 3. We're almost there. We're almost halfway. Again, like I said, we're just looking for opportunities for improvements. That's all. How can I be better? I want to put more on vacation. Money gives us so much control over not only what we need, but what we want. So really looking for opportunities. How can I be better? Thinking in mind, what do I want? Okay. Explore and gather some resources. What I mean by that is, whether you are positive or negative, are you considering, always considering reducing expenses is a good idea. Who doesn't want to save money? But do you also want to consider increasing income? I talk a lot about this in our debt management talk, which I recommend you go watch as well. But by this, increasing income may mean throwing a yard sale, selling extra items you don't have, picking up overtime if it's availability, Uber, DoorDash, things like that. We have a lot of availability with today's day. Next, step 3, we're almost done. Brainstorm. Start setting goals. Just start, okay? Take care of those high priority urgencies first, right? Those are our top priority. That's our number 1 goal. You should be thinking about, what are the benefits if I do this, if I meet my goal, if I, right, fill in the blank. What are the benefits? And also educating yourself on what are the costs. That could be physical costs, that could be emotional, mental costs of, is there consequences if I don't pay this, or if I don't take care of this? Is there late fees, et cetera, et cetera. Just educating yourself if you don't. Okay. Somebody asked for an example of, well, when I'm goal setting, what's a good goal to set? I always recommend be honest and realistic with yourself, make sure it's achievable, and be specific, set some time frames. So this is what I mean by that. If my goal is to save $500 for an emergency savings and overdraft protection, and I want to do this in 1 year, I'm being specific of, I need $500 in 1 year. Okay, that means I'm breaking it down and being more specific with myself of how does that work? And that means $20 each paycheck, or $40 per month. Is that still flexible for you? That's a-okay, right? Adjust this, but you need to break it down to see if it's achievable. Okay, then you're going to I want you to add a start date and an end date. I want you to commit to this. I want you to say, the first check of February, I will start. Okay, and by February of 2025, my goal is to have this $500 in my savings account, or whatever your goal may be. This is just an example of one. Okay, and actually, I see some questions popping up. Great timing. I have a question break. Somebody asked, is it best to put money extra in savings or pay down a bill? Oh, I love this question. Benefits to both. Let's talk about why. If you're paying a bill, if that bill has interest, you're being charged more, and by essentially paying that bill down, you're overall saving yourself money in the long run. Okay. Financially, mathematically, maybe that one makes the most sense. But we talked a lot about life happens. Putting into your savings account is important, because if I have a flat tire and I have nothing in my emergency savings, how am I paying for that anyway? I'm probably putting it on the credit card of which I'm trying to pay down. So you can find yourself in this cycle. I think that building an emergency savings is important, but paying down additional costs and additional interest on bills are also important. But I think it's your individual situation. Weigh your own options and see, maybe you will immediately, after me saying that, know what your priority is. Okay. I hope that helps. All right. I know we're coming up on time, and I really, really appreciate it. I want to leave some time for questions at the end. And actually, these next 3 steps, I'm hoping will go by pretty quickly if we want to have some questions and answers at the end. So after maybe we've needed to go sit down and even revisit on a different day, that's okay. After you've gathered your materials, you've set some goals, you've looked at your cash flow, a great time to dive back in and actually start building your spending plan here. And let me make this a little bit larger. Creating a spending plan. We're going to verify your incomes. Just make sure you're not missing anything. Okay. Review your cash flow again. Was it in? Was it out? What are my goals? Keep that in mind. And you're going to actually select a method. Is it that category method? Is that 50, 30, 20 method? And then on top of that, is Excel working? Is paper working? Is the envelope system working? We're going to talk about, I guess, more so the electronic envelope system in a little bit. But what is an app going to work? Start downloading that app, open that Excel, fill in those numbers, start. And if you don't start, then you need, I hope on our goal setting, you said, I will build a spending plan on this date. Okay. Your next step after you start is just to practice and maintain. One of the biggest steps of this is, 1, just start somewhere. Okay. Monitor your progress. How am I doing? Maybe I look back and I go, ouch, last month was a really bad month. I didn't meet any of my goals. Okay. Monitor and adjust as you need, and look forward of how you're just going to be better next month. That is part of the practice of spending plans. Looking back last month and going, how did I do? Okay, let's do it again. Let's try to be better. So just, right, that is one of your main steps that you will continuously do. And then you're going to monitor, reflect, and adjust, like I said, as needed. But what I really want you to do is set check-ins for yourself. I like to check in myself. Is it every paycheck? Is it every month? Somebody asked, and I love this question, how often should I build my spending plan or look at my spending plan? Which I love. Your spending plan can change. I would say anytime your income or expenses change. Okay. I don't have a set number for you. I guess that's my overall answer. Traditionally, we say every 3 weeks. That doesn't mean crunching numbers, but that means this practice, maintain, monitor, reflect, and adjust. I am looking back. Did my expenses change? My flexible, my fixed? How could I do better? Do I need to increase income? Do I need to decrease my costs, etc.? That's a big part of it. You're just monitoring it frequently. Okay. And adjusting as needed, setting goals, and maintain. That is your practice of creating and maintaining a spending plan. I love this comment. Somebody put, when I get my paycheck, I always put $25 into my emergency savings account before I pay my bills. Absolutely. Unfortunately, yeah, life happens and there are things we need to pay for. One of the biggest pieces of advice I got was that you do not have a choice to save because life happens and flat tires happen and things like that, okay? But make life more than that and also have things that you want, that you're planning for. So let's talk about how we can actually start practicing this and some physical or tactile tools and resources. So again, just to recap, some 5 tips. Just start a spending plan. Do what works for you. Practice and maintain. Always try to be better. Okay. Know what works for you best. And if something's not working, try something else. You deserve that top of the triangle. Okay. So just keep adjusting. We want to stay within that under that 33% housing or 35. I would love under 30, and under that 25% transportation. Okay. Practice on that earn, save first, and spend, that pay yourself first mentality and attitude. You can practice and start that this next paycheck, right? And stay empowered by monitoring yourself, always looking at what habits you're doing well. Remember why you're doing this. What are your wants and your needs? Okay, and I think that keeps me really empowered. Some of the biggest tips or actions that changed my spending plan behaviors was creating multiple checking accounts and multiple savings accounts. Okay, this is going to sound crazy, but I have on the screen, do you remember back in the day, maybe you guys have heard of the envelope system. It's kind of around. This is where you get paid in cash, and you would say, well, I have $20 for gas and this much for groceries and this much, and you would put them in individual envelopes and store them away until it was time to pay your bills. Multiple reasons of why I really recommend you to not carry cash all the time, especially your full amount in bills that you need. So I recommend switch and think of this envelope system and creating it electronically with accounts. Okay, and let me walk you through this. I have multiple checking accounts because I like to separate my spending of bills, okay, and my personal spending. So each paycheck I have split up my total amount of monthly bills. I personally get paid twice per month, so I divide those by each paycheck, and each paycheck I transfer my total amount of my rent, my bills, my XYZ into my bills account. Even then, when I started feeling better, I set those up on automatic payments, and I have enough of a buffer that I know those bills will be paid. Okay. And if you need overdraft protection, personal lines of credit, things to help you like that, right, that's great for overdraft protection until we can get that personal savings or something. Again, working towards a savings could be a goal. And then for the rest of the month, I know that that personal spending account is okay. That doesn't necessarily mean go spend all of that. We're not talking about impulse buying, right? We're practicing intentional spending. And we're thinking of future goals. If you are a couple or a family in here, I really recommend this yours, mine, and ours setup. This is where you have a joint account where all of your bills would come out of, and then you both each have an individual personal spending account. Whether you want to add each other as joints on those, and your accessibility is up to you. Also, think about this for your business. You're having an ins account, an outs account, a payroll account, a savings. You can have multiple accounts to help your business budget as well. And then think of multiple savings accounts, whether it's for family or for business, same applies. Do you want to save for vacation? Do you have either a new vehicle or vehicle repairs? Do you find holiday? Do you need a Christmas account? Something like that. Investments. And then some for needs, just some examples there. So think about that. My students always laugh at me of, man, I think I got 3 or 4 checkings, at least 2, and 6 savings accounts. But the way I explain it is when, I'll use myself as an example. I said that I love the outdoors. I love off-roading. One unfortunate winter, I drove through too large of a puddle and I had some car repairs I needed to pay for. Okay. At the end of the year, I also had a Disneyland trip paid for. My car repairs ended up being thousands of dollars. Okay. If I were to have all of my funds in one piggy bank and I smashed that, I had no idea if I was still on track for my Disneyland vacation. Because I had different accounts and I had one for car repairs and one for vacation, I was able to, so to say, metaphorically break that piggy bank for my car repairs with keeping my vacation piggy safe. Okay, so I can smash into one piggy and keep my other piggy safe, and that's what works for me. And I've just added over the years as I've been able to practice a little bit more. Okay. Some additional things that may help you. Mobile banking. Man, I don't know if I couldn't check my balance online at any point in time, I probably would not be successful at practicing my spending plans. Budgeting apps or spreadsheets, I will actually be sending you one in an email. Think of some fraud prevention, not only thinking about spending, but thinking about protecting our money so we don't have to worry about if our bills are paid, if something were to happen. A great way to do this is spending alerts and notifications. If you're now not just speaking with Greater Nevada Credit Union, if you have a Visa card, you can actually sign up for Visa alerts. I have mine set where anytime my card is used for over a penny, it texts me. Maybe it seems excessive, but my card shouldn't be being used that much because I have a plan and know where my money is going. So that's nice to know when, oh, hey, my electricity did get paid or XYZ. Okay. Some calendar reminders if you have due dates, things like that, but also for your check-ins. Are you checking in monthly? Do you want to set a calendar reminder to go, hey, how was my spending plan? How am I doing on my goal? We are coming up on questions with about 15 minutes or so for questions. Do I have any additional before I let you get to the rest of your night?
No, I don't see any at this time.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. On that note, I will leave you with some tools and resources. Please look for that email from me. On your screen here is a QR code that you can scan. This is to get you to some resources and tools, but this includes our 2024 webinar list. I appreciate you. We have already completed our first month. Happy 2024 and Happy New Year, but just to take a look at some of our topics coming up. Oh, it looks like I got a space on there. And then again, like I said, I really, really appreciate you learning with me, and I always am trying to update and make these better and greater for us. And the feedback that I receive in these surveys are directly, we try to directly implement them to make them better for our community. So we appreciate you. And with that, I will let you get back to the rest of your night, and I hope you have a greater day.